General Hospital spoilers tease that tragedy and betrayal are about to collide in Port Charles, as one of its most formidable matriarchs, Tracy Quartermaine, faces an ambush that could shake the Quartermaine legacy to its core. A chilling prelude unfolds in the dimly lit corridors of the Quartermaine mansion. The hush of late evening is broken only by the periodic hum of the security system. Tracy Quartermaine, ever the vigilant guardian of her family's fortune and reputation, makes her nightly rounds, inspecting ledgers and private correspondences in her expansive home office. Unbeknownst to Tracy, a shadow moves silently beyond the threshold. A gloved hand wraps around her wrist, and before she can utter a cry, she's forced into the darkness. As the door clicks shut behind her, the mansion's vast halls reverberate with the echo of her muffled struggles, setting in motion a chain of events drenched in suspense. Fans know that Tracy had no hand in the recent ketamine poisoning of Drew Cain, an event that nearly claimed his life and left him questioning every face in Port Charles. Yet, whispers in the hospital corridors suggest that Drew's mind, still reeling from the trauma and betrayal, has fixated on Tracy as a co-conspirator. Despite every shred of evidence exonerating her, Drew remains convinced that Tracy colluded with Portia Robinson, whose unwavering loyalty protects Nina Reeves at all costs. Portia Robinson, however, stands firm. A woman of principle beneath her fierce facade, Portia has sworn to shield Nina from the relentless onslaught of accusations. The revelation that Nina masterminded the chaos that upended Drew's life would shatter her carefully built alliances, and so Portia remains silent, her lips sealed against what she knows to be devastating truth. Her resolve to safeguard Nina's secret, combined with Tracy's reputation for ruthlessness, forms a perfect storm in Drew's fractured psyche. Haunted by flashbacks of the night he grappled with paralysis and panic, Drew scours the hospital records, reviews security footage, and interrogates anyone who might link Tracy to whispers of conspiracy. His investigations yield nothing, but his determination only hardens. He rationalizes that Tracy's innocence must be a deceitful veneer, her cunning mind too adept at wiping away any trace of her wrongdoing. A symphony of suspicion crescendos as Drew devises a plan to break Tracy's defenses and uncover the truth through his own brutal logic. Unleashing his pent-up fury and a thirst for retribution, he lurks in the shadows, plotting an assault that will leave no doubt about her involvement. Yet his intentions, however fierce, are guided by pain and confusion rather than justice. Under the guise of a business meeting, Tracy is lured to a secluded wing of the estate late one evening. Unaware of the trap that awaits her, she strides confidently down the ornate hall, her mind focused on the upcoming Quartermaine shareholder meeting. Suddenly, the corridor goes dark as the lights flicker out. A single lamp sways on a side table, casting grotesque shadows on the damask wallpaper. A figure emerges from the darkness. Tracy's instincts flare into action, but the assailant is swift. A syringe glints in the low light as it pierces her throat, silencing her protest in an instant. Tracy's knees buckle. She staggers, dazed as the toxin courses through her veins. The world tilts. Her pulse races while the edges of her vision blur. The attacker, breathing heavy with adrenaline, watches impassively as Tracy collapses to the Persian rug, her gray hair splayed like a halo. With a final glance, the culprit withdraws, leaving Tracy's form crumpled in the silence. As seconds stretch into minutes, the first true wave of panic washes over Tracy. She struggles to draw breath, a visceral fight against unconsciousness and perhaps against the betrayals that have long shadowed her family's vaults. Somewhere deep within, she recognizes the pattern of premeditation, someone with intimate knowledge of her routines, someone bent on ensuring she never discovers their secrets. Meanwhile, across town, Drew Cain watches through a bank of monitors in a makeshift surveillance room. His face, pale and focused, is bathed in the glow of screens replaying every camera angle from the estate. When Tracy's collapse flickers into view, Drew allows himself a grim satisfaction mingled with a deeper, more complex emotion, relief that his suspicions have seemingly been validated, tempered by a pang of guilt at the violence of his revenge. That night, as Port Charles slumbers under a cloak of uncertainty, Portia Robinson receives an anonymous tip that something terrible has befallen Tracy. Racing to the mansion, she confronts the sight of her friend and mentor lying motionless, paramedics rushing her into an ambulance. Portia's heart hammers as she fights back tears, realizing that the secret she's guarded, the truth of Nina's role in Drew's crime, has ignited a cycle of vengeance none could have predicted. In the hospital's hushed corridors, Peter August and Sam McCall arrive to find Tracy in a medically induced coma. The trio gathers, each grappling with shock and fear. Peter's engineering mind spins possibilities of forensic breakthroughs, while Sam's fierce loyalty sustains her hope that Tracy will awaken. Their whispered plans center on uncovering the culprit before Drew can strike again. Yet Drew, emboldened by his act, embraces a darker ambition. If Tracy disappears altogether, her empire crumbles, and his path to the Quartermain legacy clears. As he contemplates a forged will bearing Tracy's signature, one he's meticulously crafted to name himself sole heir, he envisions a future bathed in wealth and respect he's long been denied. His mind races with possibilities, tax havens, offshore accounts, the Quartermain fortune at his beck and call. The dawn after Tracy's attack arrives gray and heavy. The hospital buzzes with speculation. News crews stake out the entrance, eager for a statement from the Quartermains. Monica Quartermain, clad in somber black, stands at a press conference, her voice firm yet frail as she deflects questions about motives and suspects. The media's glare intensifies the family's distress, and whispers swirl around town, each rumor more outlandish than the last. Behind closed doors, Sam, Peter, and Portia launch a clandestine investigation, determined to expose the true mastermind. They scour security logs, interview staff, and retrace footsteps, all under the fragile veil of hope that Tracy will recover. Meanwhile, Detective Dante Falconeri reviews evidence and becomes increasingly convinced that Tracy's attacker is someone she trusted. When silent alarms in the mansion reveal coded entries that align with Drew's unique access privileges, Dante's suspicion shifts sharply toward the prodigal son-turned-deceiver. Back at the mansion, the Quartermain board convenes in the grand parlor. Elaine and Edward Quartermain Jr. argue vehemently about the provisional management of Tracy's holdings. The once unified clan fractures as each member jockeys for influence. Laura Collins, Tracy's longtime confidant, warns that the family's disarray plays directly into the attacker's hands. Splintered loyalties and internal discord will guarantee the success of any forged will. As Tracy hovers between life and death, Drew immerses himself in Quartermain financials at a rented office downtown. His fingers dance across spreadsheets, his heart thrumming with anticipation. He finalizes the forged document, a crisp declaration of Tracy's desire to pass her empire solely into his hands, bypassing Monica and the rest of the clan. He seals it with the impeccable imitation of Tracy's signature, each stroke guided by hours of studying her handwriting on vintage checks. But guilt sheds at him. Late one night, as he gazes at a faded photograph of himself and Tracy, captured years earlier at a family gala, doubt invades his triumph. His life, he realizes, has been defined by lies and half-truths. To secure the fortune, he must extinguish the one person who can expose him. Yet, in that reflection, he remembers Tracy's rare moments of warmth for Drew, the orphaned soul who briefly felt the embrace of the Quartermain family. That memory flickers like a candle in the storm of his rage. Elsewhere, Portia confronts Nina Reeves with the looming threat. If Nina doesn't come forward about her role in Drew's poisoning, Tracy might never wake to reveal the truth. Nina's gaze hardens. She knows capitulation would destroy her life's work and irreparably damage her standing in Port Charles society. But the weight of guilt, pressed upon her by Tracy's fate, begins to crack her facade. She confesses in trembling whispers, the revelation tearing at her composure. Peter records Nina's statement, each word a nail in Drew's coffin. With this confession, they can clear Tracy's name and dismantle any claim Drew's forged will might have. Yet time is their enemy. Hospital halls echo with the rapid approach of an ambulance carrying Drew himself, bleeding and frantic. He's returned to Port Charles after a near-fatal car accident, the result of a reckless drive through rain-slick streets. Fate, it seems, has caught up with him. When Drew is wheeled into the same wing where Tracy lies in her medically induced sleep, Sam and Peter recognize the irony. The Avenger now lies victim to his own self-destructive impulses. As they witness Drew's hollow stare, they realize that his guilt and ambition have become his undoing, eroding any claim he might have staked on the Quartermain fortune. In a dramatic twist, Tracy awakens. Her first sight is the sterile ceiling, punctuated by the rhythmic beeping of machines. Fear tightens her chest as she realizes her vulnerability, but then, a familiar face appears at the foot of her bed, Monica, tears in her eyes, holding Tracy's hand. The matriarch's grip is surprisingly strong. In that moment, every plan Drew had seems to shatter beneath the weight of Tracy's living defiance. As word spreads of Tracy's miraculous recovery, the Quartermain board reconvenes. The forged will is exposed, its signature revealed as a counterfeit by forensic analysis, led by Detective Falconeri. Drew, confronted with the incontrovertible truth, collapses into a chair, his world unraveling. He watches, powerless, as Tracy reclaims her domain, her empire restored and purified by her survival. Yet the fallout is far from over. Trust in the Quartermain family stands fractured. Portia's secret compromise, Nina's admission, and Drew's betrayal leave lasting scars. Tracy, though triumphant, is forever changed. She resolves to rebuild her legacy more securely, vowing to expose every hidden weakness in her family's defenses and to wield her power with renewed purpose. In the final shadows of the saga, Port Charles exhales, uncertain what new storms await. But one truth endures: in a world of deceit and ambition, survival belongs to those cunning enough to anticipate every betrayal and powerful enough to endure its sting.